And at 10, Balloon Boy. FNAF has taken some flack for inconsistencies in the games in the past, and while some can be attributed to the story just being convoluted and, you know, variations in character depiction or, you know, simply maybe a trick of the light sometimes when it comes to that kind of detail, not all can be reasonably explained or have a case made for them for being intentional, because you know what, the goddamn Springtrap makes no sense, okay? Spring, then scrap, then burn, what's going on? The inconsistency of Balloon Boy's colored buttons, however, is just, it's one mistake that many fans think was not intentional, but simply something that was overlooked and not really considered. Balloon Boy's buttons originally appear white when he first appears in FNAF 2, but later on appear to change to black every time when you shine the flashlight on him. This has led fans to theorize that there are actually 2 Balloon Boys simply because of the color of his buttons. What do you think? Was it a mistake, or are there actually 2 Balloon Boys? It was a mistake, okay? It's a mistake. And at 9, where's Chica's cupcake? Well, Chica has become known for her cupcake, which she's often pictured with, because, you know, it's Chica and her cupcake. Baby loves her cake. This has left many fans of the franchise wondering where it was in the first game. In that game, Chica is still wearing her Let's Eat bib, but without any actual cupcake to come along with her. Probably because FNAF blew up in a way that Scott wasn't expecting, so of course there's going to be inconsistencies when he has to change things up because he made the next game in 87 days. Especially because it's just a prop. And because so much of the story is not surrounding the events of the actual cupcake itself, I think it's kind of okay, because it's just a goddamn cupcake. But again, people just, they think crazy things. A lot of people are looking for more of an explanation than just it hadn't been designed yet. But oh well. Maybe this version of Chica just simply didn't have a cupcake like we seemingly see with the glam rock version of the character, okay? It's entirely possible. However, there does seem to be a monument to the cupcake outside of her green room, so... I mean, she's not using it, so maybe that's what's happening in this one, okay? We don't see the entire pizzeria. Maybe it's just chilling out in the kitchen. You never know. And at 8, FNAF High School. Okay, so sadly, I don't actually think it's sadly. I think it's probably a blessing. I wasn't able to actually track down the cartoon to watch, but apparently there's an animated series based off of the actual like animatronic characters from FNAF. Like what? I don't know if this actually does exist, or if it's just the joke, but either way it looks ridiculous. The show is supposed to imagine what the lives of the animatronics would be if they were human and in high school. Don't know why. The description reads, quote, Golden has no control over his life, Fox has made mistakes, Chica has no friends, Bonnie is constantly bullied, and Freddy has a secret. What? Someone tried to turn the world of FNAF into a high school drama series? I'm sorry, but you can never beat winging it. Why? Why does everything have to be turned into a high school drama? And although I was unable to locate the actual animated series, maybe this is supposed to be referencing the Ultimate Custom Night animatronic teenage, like the high school thing, because like Chica's high school thing, you know, the high school years of Chica, maybe that's what this is referencing. I don't know. The whole idea just seems to be a huge mistake, and it changed how I looked at the series. Just please don't let this be real. And at 7, Night 8. A weird glitch in the game actually allows you to play through an 8th night in FNAF 2, and possibly also in the original FNAF game as well, although I'm not trying it. Apparently, when you scroll through the starting menu following the completion of the game can actually glitch and allow you to play an 8th night out of the 5 nights. Now, I was surprised when I first discovered this. I was surprised when I first discovered that there was more than 5 nights. I mean, the game is literally called 5 Nights at Freddy's, and apparently there's more than 5 nights. But I don't know if this 8th night is actually a glitch or if it's intentional. I feel like it's a glitch because the 7th night is always the custom night, right? But yeah, even in the original FNAF game, you can actually play the 5 nights and then continue on to the 6th night, and then you get the, again, custom 7th night, where you can change the difficulty of the animatronics. But, like, apparently you can glitch out FNAF 2 and get Night 8. I don't know, okay? Though whether or not this was a mistake or, like, intentional remains a mystery, but most people believe that it's just a glitch. And you know what? It changes everything? At 6, fan art. After promotional artwork for FNAF 7 was released on social media, it was almost immediately taken back down. Fortunately, fans still got to see the artwork released because it made its way onto Reddit, because, you know, it's always on Reddit. But why was it taken down? Scott didn't realize that he wasn't really the person who created it. He didn't just use his own artwork and models, okay, when he was actually like constructing this, but he accidentally mixed fan models and fan art into the actual cover as well. And because of this, he immediately took it down, not wanting to use someone else's work. And understandably, he was upset about it. But like, again, how did this happen? Like, you're literally the creator of the series. How do you mess up and not use an original thing? Apparently, it was because the models that his team found were so close to the originals of the characters that they actually thought that it was Scott's. Following this mistake, Scott himself actually commended those who made the fan art because they did such an amazing job that it was mistaken for his own. But yeah, he even admitted that some of the fan-made models were better than his. And although we've seen some other moments that showcase this, Scott's reaction continues to highlight just how much he cares and respects the fan base of FNAF and its community and just how good you are at making fan art. Okay, that's all we're gonna say on the subject because I could already hear the comments. I'm sorry, we're working on it. Halfway through and at number 5, continuity. For many, a lot of the story that is explored and hinted at in the games has become somewhat hard to follow or hard to understand. Understandably so. More filled with theories than having anything actually confirmed. So yeah, the whole story is just theories, really. And while many have praised the games for this kind of story that begins to unravel the more you play, involving murder and family drama, there has also been some continuity errors within the lore. The only thing that can be said about retcons being introduced in regards to the storytelling is that at least Scott recognizes that not everything can be perfect, but has reassured the community that he only made one retcon, at least at the time of that Reddit post. Since then, I'm sure he's made more, okay? And just because he doesn't say it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, okay? We had a whole list of the top 10 FNAF retcons. Alright, go watch that one, because it's true. There's more than one, I'm telling you. In at 4, the end of FNAF. Did you know that FNAF almost ended? Well, if you've watched this channel enough, you should know that, so if you don't, be sure you hit subscribe and turn notifications on. Anyway, the original ending of FNAF, according to Scott himself during an interview with Daco, was an ending that we all originally thought. Yes, FNAF 3 was supposed to be the end of the series, despite Scott leaving Springtrap in the background of the final newspaper image, because of course he would. That's why we released the spirits of the missing children. That's why the place burns down. That's why it feels like the end, because it was supposed to be. But why did we get another 6 games after? Well, simple, because the Springtrap jump scare wasn't scary enough. That's right, Springtrap's jump scare was so mild that it was basically ketchup and it caused fans to get upset, especially for what felt like the end of the series. So Scott came back, and he came back hard, making FNAF 4 and the Nightmare animatronics, and then he just kept it going from there. So yes, Springtrap's jump scare was a mistake, because without it, I might actually be able to get some sleep at night without thinking about what animatronics may be under my bed. Hopefully, it's Chica. Hey, mommy! In at 3, jump scares and nightmares. While designing and developing the Five Nights at Freddy's series, Scott Cawthon found himself startled by one of the animatronics in the game when he lowered his camera and their face popped up. And I guess you all know what it was, okay? The animatronic actually wasn't supposed to be there due to a game glitch that startled Scott, and he was scared so bad that he actually ended up having nightmares. But this glitch would go on to be one that would pave the way for the feel of the games, and it inspired Scott and made him realize that he could have something very special on his hands when it came to FNAF. Haha, that's right. And without him experiencing the unexpected Bonnie jump scare, of course it's Bonnie, who knows what the game would have been. Although Freddy also wasn't supposed to be moving, and he did. So this could be in relation to that as well. He didn't really specify, but we all know that he was scared of Bonnie. But he also, Freddy wasn't supposed to move. He was supposed to stay on the stage, but then he started moving. So that could be a glitch, or that could just be an urban legend that Scott made to make us all fear the series more. But ultimately, in at number 2, FNAF World. That's it. That's the number. FNAF World was a mistake. We don't talk about it. All right, moving on. Just kidding. When FNAF World was originally released a month early, fans rushed to play it, okay? For Scott, this had been an exciting project that he had been working on for a while, which was different from most of his other games, at least in the FNAF series. However, although loyal fans seemed to enjoy the game, eager to express their love for it, critics and the general populace just felt the opposite. The reviews from critics were actually so poor that Scott felt that the only way to deal with the criticism was to take it down. take it down. He removed the game from Steam and then offered a refund to everyone who had played it, whether or not they enjoyed it. He then set out to fix the game, and it kind of did, okay? It was a little bit too rushed even for him, even for a man who made a game in 87 days. The game was later re-released on Game Jolt after being patched, and it was also released for free. However, because of the mistakes made early on, nobody really played it after that. I mean, I played it on the channel and I still don't understand it. I don't know how it works. Okay, Scott inevitably realized that the game was unfixable and was forced to scrap it and move on, but you can still play it. You can still play it, we just don't talk about it anymore. That's it, we don't talk about it. And finally, in at number 1, Chipper and Sons Lumber Co. Scott's inspiration for the game, actually for like the FNAF series, actually came out being one of his biggest fails. Before he became famous for creating FNAF, Scott Cawthon was someone who constantly found himself criticized for rushing through his game development. And it was this kind of criticism that he faced from video game critic Jim Sterling surrounding a trailer for one of his games, Chipper and Sons Lumber Company. Jim made fun of the game, using his review to spin a far-fetched narrative for the game involving a post-apocalyptic world where humans had been replaced by robots, describing the characters in the game as animatronic-like. Scott had decided to embrace the criticism and actually set out to build a game based on this outlandish narrative. Jim's criticism ended up later becoming the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, so without that mistake, or without that fail, we wouldn't have FNAF today. And you know what? I think that might be better for my mental health. But you know what? I don't talk about it. And at 10, Elizabeth. Speaking of mistakes, what about your kid? I'm kidding. What about getting your own kid killed? Yeah, like I don't know how William thought that this was a good idea. Like, I feel like this guy just thought, how do I capture kids more efficiently? Oh, I know, I can make a robot to lure them in and then grab them when they're close, but what will its design be? Hey honey, come here, daddy wants some design tips. Yeah, and then Elizabeth ends up making the most predictable move ever and going directly against her father's instructions to see a robot that's basically perfect in her eyes. Like, bro, William, dude, why did you think that this was ever going to end well? Why did you think that this wasn't going to happen? When has a kid ever listened to a parent, especially at that age when they're seemingly loaded because you own a successful entertainment business, okay? Spoiled rich kids listening to their dad when they say not to touch a giant robot made to appeal to them specifically? Yeah, it's a freaking genius idea. Flawless, okay? God, you're a real special kind of stupid, man. Or like, maybe at least program a blacklist of kids not to steal. Like, you have facial recognition tech, so come on, dude. And at 9, hiding spot. How the absolute living hell did anyone end up getting away with this? The smell of rotting bodies inside of animatronics would ruin the place, especially when you're meant to eat there. The heat from the animatronics insides would actually speed up decomposition, and the animatronics are in front of people every single day. They even started complaining that the animatronics were leaking blood and mucus, and as well as, quote, smelling like death. If this was real life and William getting away with this wasn't important for the plot of the games, he would have been caught for that instantly, okay? Like, oh, we never found the bodies of these kids, but now these animatronics are leaking blood and smell like dead bodies. They even kind of make bone-crushing sounds when they move around. We should probably check this out. Oh, look, we found the missing kids. Afton, you're under arrest. Boom! Instantly. Like, I don't know how this wasn't an open and shut case. Straight up. William is so goddamn stupid that he shouldn't have made it to the first game. Okay? His plan is a whole dumpster fire of bad ideas. Actually, you know what? No, dumpster fires are actually better than this. Because fire. And at 8, the Bite of 87. The Bite of 87 is one of the most mysterious moments in the entire FNAF series, and it was introduced in the very first game. Being introduced in the series in FNAF 1 from 2014, the Bite of 87 has remained one of the most debated points in FNAF history, and we can't quite agree on what happened. At first we thought that Golden Freddy caused the bite, then we thought Freddy, then we thought Mangle, then Fredbear, then Toy Chica, and then back to Mangle. and everyone in between. Everyone has their different opinion on the subject, but for some reason most people think that it's confirmed, or that the bite of 83 from FNAF 4 is the bite of 87, which it isn't. If you Google bite of 87 on Google Images, you actually get pictures of the bite from FNAF 4, which actually takes place in 1983. In fact, I'm sure you're seeing pictures of the incident now. The bite of 87 and 83 have been confused for ages, and they're still being confused to this day. Honestly, it's kind of frightening based on how many people get mad at me because I go against something that MapPad said, but then also tell me that I'm wrong about the bite of 83, even though I agree with MapPad on that point. Okay, just because Markiplier asked if it was the bite of 87 doesn't mean that it is, okay? It's not. It's a mistake. For you, at least, changed everything. That's right, I'm getting sassy today. It's on you. And it's 7 lives. One thing that I think would have changed everything is if FNAF had a life system. Sure, you can go back and do it again after you fail night 5 thanks to the continue button, but I think that lives would have made this game worse rather than better. Part of the appeal is that you only have one shot, and while yes it saves what night you're on, you still need to restart everything, and I think that lives would take away from that. Even though it's basically the same thing, unless maybe the lives would let you continue the night that you were on, like from where you got jump scared. Like if you got jump scared at 5 AM, you'd still be at 5 AM, which I feel would kind of break the game. Especially if you use the glitch where you can continue the jump scare for a long time by just moving the mouse and like reopening the camera. But it also still continues the night. But, okay, yeah. With the system it has, lives are kind of redundant, but we know that this was a planned feature thanks to gameplay that was left on Scott's YouTube channel from the development days of the first FNAF game. Either way, personally, I think that adding lives would have been a mistake and changed how FNAF would have played out, and it honestly might not have been as popular as it ended up becoming. And its 6th timeline. Trying to think about a FNAF timeline is probably one of the worst decisions you can ever make. The FNAF timeline is not for the faint of heart, and honestly, if it wasn't my job at this point to think about it, I wouldn't even have touched the damn thing. Before we started FNAF videos, do you think I was just sitting at home thinking about the timeline? Hell no! I just trusted what MapPad said. And honestly, I know that's what a lot of you do as well, but there are some things in his FNAF theories that I would question, but since it wasn't my job to care, I really didn't, and it didn't make my life any worse. So trust me, if you aren't getting paid to talk about FNAF, or aren't trying to make a career by talking about FNAF, and it's convoluted, what if story timeline, don't bother, okay? It can be fun to speculate, but don't invest a lot of time and energy into it, because honestly it will have no benefits. Hell, it has no benefits for me, and I've been doing it for 2 years. Spend that time playing games with your friends, or even by yourself. Hell, even make a D&D campaign based on FNAF if you want to. I was thinking about something like that, but like, you could just do it as a way to have fun with people who share your passion, okay? But don't worry about the timeline. Trust me. All it brings you is pain and suffering, crying endlessly, although that could also be my daddy issues. Halfway through at number 5, Immobile Freddy. The original FNAF that Scott had in mind is not at all like the one he actually released. Well, it is in a sense that it's what he wanted to make, but so many ideas and mechanics were added and changed that while we know FNAF as a point-and-click game that gets progressively harder, adding more animatronics later on in a playthrough, that wasn't actually what Scott had planned for at the beginning. In a statement on Reddit, probably, Scott revealed that he originally had plans to make Freddy only jump scare you if you ran out of power, and that he actually never wanted Freddy to leave the main stage. Eventually this changed, and we'll never really know why. Perhaps it was because the game was too easy, or maybe he wanted to see how things would go with 2 animatronics in the same hallway, or maybe he just wanted to see how it would go with Freddy. Or perhaps he had Freddy moving around but he got jump scared randomly and just kept it in. Or he just wanted to torture us more, like the sadistic fool that we all know him to be. Why do you do this to us, Scott? Why? I'm kidding, please put me in the movie. In at 4, Alivened. While Henry might have had issues killing Afton for whatever reason, he seems to be just fine offing his son when he gets the chance. And by his son, I mean Afton's son. And by he, I mean Henry Emily. Okay, I mean, and like in both of the fires set by Henry that we see, FNAF 3 and FNAF 6, Michael was there both times, and he didn't seem to care that Michael was in the building. He doesn't even give Michael the opportunity to exit the building at FNAF 6, despite there having been a way out planned. Quote from Henry's final speech, "And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling you are right where you want to be." He assumes that we also want to die in these halls and doesn't give us the chance to actually make the decision for ourselves. So he just forces us to die since he doesn't really give us a way out. So sorry man, but that's murder. Whether we wanted it or not, assisted suicide is still illegal, at least for the majority of states from my understanding. So either way, this is a crime. But again, he doesn't give us the option, making it more of a murder than an assisted self-offing. All the Henry stands are gonna be mad at me, but it's true, okay? He didn't even give us a choice. He just assumed that we wanted death, and he was like, okay, I'll give it to you, but getting close to the end in number 3, neglect. Now this might be a controversial topic. I mean, this may also make a few Henry stands mad, but you know what, it needs to be said. If you're suspicious of your business partner and concerned for your daughter's well-being, you don't just give her a special bracelet that makes her a priority to the one security bot you have, especially when that bot can be disabled by simply placing a couple of boxes on top of it. You keep her home as much as you can, and not in a controlling way, but in like a protective way. Like you keep an eye on her, okay? You let her play around in the backyard, you play with her, you do stuff as a family, okay? And you should be doing that anyway, because, you know, she's like 3 years old. You don't give her a bracelet then let her run amongst the big kids at a pizza place where she then gets locked outside and then killed. Bro, no. How did she even get locked outside? How is that possible? How could that even happen? Neglect. This man put a green bracelet on his 3-year-old daughter and said that's enough, and then neglected her, hoping the green would be enough. Bro, what the hell? Especially when the man you think is going to hurt her is the one who built the goddamn animatronics in the first place. And then also knows exactly how to disable it when the time comes. The worst thing that Henry has done was straight up get his daughter killed. He suspected William and then didn't report it to the cops. Maybe he could at least get a conspiracy to commit charge, and then he thinks that a bracelet is gonna keep his daughter safe thanks to an animatronic that William had designed. It was Afton Robotics after all. Holy crap, you can't fight me on that. You know I'm right, alright? She was running amongst the big kids looking hella sus. But ultimately in at number 2, crying child. I've had a ton of people complain to me about how Crying Child's death wasn't William's fault, since he didn't put Crying Child in Fredbear's mouth and the spring locks failing was because he was crying. However, to me, there is no logical way that an animatronic jaw would have crushed his skull. The spring locks weren't actually active because the spring locks are used to move the robotic parts to the side, and Fredbear was actually in animatronic mode, meaning that they weren't needed. And crushing a skull would require a lot of power to actually accomplish with just, like, an opening and closing mechanism. So the only way that Crying Child's skull could have been crushed was if Afton had intentionally supercharged the animatronic, which would make sense if he wanted to use it as a kill machine, or maybe even a backup kill suit, figuring that more power would help him, which clearly it did, just in the worst way possible. There is no way that this was a spring lock failure, okay? It was an accident and it was a mistake, but the Fredbear suit was already in animatronic mode, meaning the spring lock mechanisms used to keep the robot parts to the side so that someone could be in the suit weren't being used. The spring lock failure problem comes from when those mechanisms are put under stress, under the stress of keeping the parts away from the person in the suit. If it's in robot mode, the spring locks can't fail because they're not being used. Keep in mind the term spring lock in this context is referring to the parts that move the robotic bits away instead of the actual suit, which is also referred to as a spring lock. But either way, Michael putting Crying Child in the mouth was meant to be a joke, but it ended up being a mistake that changed everything. And finally, in at number 1, playing. Probably the biggest mistake you can make in FNAF history, and the one I tend to try to avoid, is actually playing the games. Think about it. If you don't play FNAF, you don't have to worry about the jump scares or the stress at all. You can just sit there and watch other people scream on your behalf. And isn't that the dream? And not even like the dream theory, just the dream. It's probably the biggest mistake that you can make, and it's just because you decided to boot up the game. I've only played FNAF VR a handful of times, and then I've played Security Breach all the way through. And while I do suffer at the hands of Freddy Fazbear and Scott Cawthon, that's not due to me playing the game. That's because of you people and your unwillingness to click on literally any other kind of video that we release. I'm joking, but I'm also not joking. Can you, for God's sakes, please click on some of the other videos for once? Please, we have to make a whole other channel to talk about Minecraft. Like, come on. Or if we play something else that's like a new, like the new open world horror spider train fighting simulator or whatever it is, Choo Choo Charles or something. Could you watch that? Okay, it's exhausting talking about FNAF every day, man. Like, I love the series, kind of, don't get me wrong, but like, talking about it every day, especially with people yelling at me because I suggested that crying child is the one you should not have killed, and that's not what MapPad says, like, bro. We've made over 500 FNAF videos at this point. I'm not even kidding. Check the FNAF playlist. And while we may not have as many subscribers as other FNAF channels, I think I have at least as much knowledge, okay? We've talked about around 5,000 FNAF related points, give or take a few hundred. But like, come on.
Cut me some slack.